Shalom. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Recha HaKodash, right? Honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and other like-minded elders in Israel that teach well, by whom I learned this truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Shalom, Barakim, to the hopeful elect house of David. And salutation to you, Akim, that are laboring, ministering week in, week out, making your bodies a living sacrifice unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, in all truth and sincerity. Right, this is the brother Daniela back with another quick hit for the spirit and power of Yahweh Shim Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, a short lesson is edifying as well and I'm comforting, man. So I want to start in the book of St. Matthew, chapter 4, verse 18. Right, it says, And Yahweh Shai, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Right, and this is exactly the job role that we've been called to play, man. Right, those that have been given, the office of prophet, a teacher, right, or evangelist. Right, our job is to be fishers of men. Right now, I was meditating on that. Right, because as it were, we're all using the same bait, right, which is this word, right, which is the scriptures, the Holy Bible. This is the bait that all the brothers are using to help reel in the remnant of the elect, right? But what I was meditating on is that different fishermen have different techniques, right? Or different ways of fishing, right? And it's the same thing in this ministry, Everyone's got their own individual spirit and a different way of, casting this spiritual net, as it were, right? And yeah, so let me get into it, man. Again, Lord, when this lesson is edifying, right? So, right, I pulled up this bit of information on different fishing techniques, right? Now, obviously, this is speaking about in a carnal sense, but I want brothers, if they can, to try and, just think of what I'm bringing out in a spiritual sense, right? So, one of the fishing techniques there is one called trolling, right? A versatile method that involves dragging bait or lures behind a moving boat. Then you got bottom fishing, right? Targeting fish that prefer prey to come to them, right? It says fly fishing practiced worldwide with devoted anglers. It says bow fishing using a specialized bow to shoot fish in shallow water, right? And the water is what is the abundance of the people, right? The sea or the water is likened to the abundance of the people, right? And there's fishes within that water, right? And the fishes we're hoping to try cast or reel in is those of the elect. Now we know, just like any fisherman knows, you're casting out a wide net, you're gonna pull in all kinds of fishes, whether they be clean or unclean. You're gonna draw in shellfish, fish with scales and fins, and whatever other kind of creatures are within the seas or the oceans, right, or the rivers or the lakes, wherever it is you're fishing, right? So it says bottom fishing targeted fish that prefer prey to come to them. Fly fishing practiced worldwide with devoted anglers, right? Anglers is another name for fishermen, right? It says using a specialized bow to shoot fish in shallow water, right? In the different environments, right? The sea represents the seas, the lakes, the rivers, Salakia. They represent the environments where we're fishing, right? You talk about the deep sea or the rivers, the lakes. These are different environments for fishermen to fish. And it's the same thing with us, where we're talking about brothers out there on the highways, the chief places of concourse, the places that are a bit more secluded, right? These are the different environments where we're fishing, right? So you got spear fishing, right? Hunting fish underwater using a spear. Ice fishing done through holes in the frozen lakes or rivers. Spin fishing, widely practiced and involves using spinning reels, kite fishing, bait casting, jigging, and float fishing, right? These are a few examples of the different techniques, right? Or the different ways to fish, right? Now, it's the same thing in this ministry, man. Again, understanding that not every brother is the same, right? Not every brother uses the same technique to fish, but nonetheless, again, we're all using the same bait, right? But there's different ways a fisherman might apply that bait or use that bait, as it were, right? There's different ways a fisherman may cast his net, depending on his technique, right? And I've watched many programs and seen many different ways that, the same man that's doing, bass fishing, right, with using his net, and the same way, you got a angler, right, out there casting his net to reel in whatever he's trying to reel in. There's different techniques, man. There's different ways that fishermen fish, and we should remember this, man. And the reason I was meditating is because, you know, at times we can forget that. I've seen a lot of brothers talking about, or should I say, expecting everyone to fish the way that they may fish. And this is why the Heavenly Father have all these different kind of camps out here through the Spirit. Because whether camps have got their doctrine right or whatever have you, they're still going to draw in fish. Whether they be good fish or bad fish, clean fish or unclean fish. Nonetheless, they're still going to reel in fish, right, in some way, shape, or form. There's camps, right? There's camps that are going off out there that are not teaching a pure doctrine, right? And you have members of the elect that will be caught, right, or caught up in the nets of the men that are fishing within these camps, right? These are facts. Because even certain brothers that are now teaching, or that are teaching the right doctrine, a lot of them came in through I remember the first camp I started watching going back maybe 12, 13 years back was I believe it was ISUPK, if I'm not mistaken. That's the first camp I ever saw, right? Then I think it was HOY, I believe. The elders are backing them. I was watching them 12, 13 years back, and then I saw GMS, and then once I saw those elders and apostles, that was pretty much it, concerning the doctrine and understanding of the scriptures, right? But the point I'm making is that different fishermen use different techniques. There's different ways to catch a fish, man. And we should remember that at times we can get overcritical or expect ourselves from others, like I always say, or expect a fisherman to fish how you fish, because you might think you're the best fisherman. And you might have caught a lot of fish, right? So now you think your way is the way and only way. Well, no, there's different ways to catch a fish. There's different techniques. So, for example, again, going back to the point I was making about, the different environments or areas where brothers are fishing, right? Chief places, highways, marketplaces, just the different places, right? For example, you might have a camp out in a certain place. They've been fishing there for a while, and they might have not caught much fish there, so they moved on, right? Then a year down the line, a year two down the line, you have another camp that come in and start fishing in the exact same spot, the exact same fishing spot, right? And they end up catching abundance of fishes, right? So it's not always where you're fishing so much, but how you fish, right? That might that might that might make a difference. And sometimes it is about where you fish too. Not It most definitely is about where you're fishing too. That's another vital part. Because for example, if you're fishing in, ponds, as it were, places where the fishes with fins and scales, which are the clean fish, i.e., the elect, are at, right? Then you ain't gonna what you gonna do is collect crabs and shellfish and bottom feeders in your net on the end of your rod, man. Right? So it's all about the technique, right? Most importantly, the bait. Most importantly, debate again, which is this word, right? Which is this word, man, and the understanding thereof, right? But the point I'm trying to make in this lesson is that there are different fishing techniques, man. And we'll be good to remember that because every man's been given their allotted office and their allotted portion and measure, right? And I've said it so many times, man. We can oft times, expect ourselves from others, and at the end of the day, everyone's not us, and we're not everybody, right? The technique one brother might use to fish is totally different to the technique another brother might use to fish, and he might well catch more fish than you, right? Or he might not catch as much fish as you, but the fish that he does catch might be of the elect, and the hundreds or thousands of fish that you caught might not be of the elect. Nonetheless, we're still to be in the spirit of, it's still fishing season basically until the Heavenly Father say otherwise. Meaning, Amos 8:11 kicks in, and we stop being fishers of men, and the Heavenly Father readies us to be predators, man, to be hunters. So I want to bring out these two precepts and I wrap it up. This is let's go here to Romans first. Romans 12 and verse 3, right? Straight to the point. It says, "For I say, though the grace given unto me to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think." Yeah, we don't want to ever for 1 minute think that we're the best fishermen or the technique that we use to fish is the only way, right? The Heavenly Father will humble you, man, and show you, no, listen, man, you can learn a thing or two from this fisherman over here, right? Who might have not been fishing as long as you, right? He might have not been fishing as long as you, but his technique, right, or where he chooses to fish might be the difference between the fact of him reeling in the elect and you not, So it says not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according as the Most High have dealt to every man the measure of faith, right? So the Heavenly Father have given us our measures of faith, our measures of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, our fishing technique. Right? It's the Heavenly Father that's given us these things, man. So for any other man to begrudge you or act like, because your technique ain't the same as his, right? Right, you going off, man. Right, you going off. Right, so let me bring this out in Ecclesiasticus chapter 37, verse 28. It says, "For all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything." Now the point in that is the beginning of that verse where it says, "For all things are not profitable for all men," and that goes back to the point I was making about, a fisherman fishing in one spot that might not be profitable to him, but then you might have another fisherman that returns to that same spot a year or two down the line and it become profitable to him, right? So we can't be in that spirit of, because I've heard brothers say things like, "Oh, well, we've been in that spot, ain't nothing going on in that spot." Or, well, guess what, we caught fish in that spot. You might have not caught fish in that spot, but this fisherman over here, he caught an abundance of fishes in that spot for whatever reason, whether it's his technique or, the season, and we all do well to remember that, man, and not to think more of ourselves than we ought to think, and think that we got it all sorted out, because we haven't, right? We haven't, and like I say, man, you got the elect that are gonna be reeled in through all different types of techniques of fishing. Hey, you might not even be in a camp, right? You might be a brother that's, whose office it is not to be on the highways or to teach as such. You might just be planting seeds and casting out your rod from day to day, along your journeys in life. And you may reel in some of the elect, right? Might be a fisherman where, you're only using your rods sparingly. Nonetheless, the Heavenly Father still got you casting out the net or using the rod to fish, That's why, again, this is why you have different techniques of fishing, man. Not every fisherman's the same, man. And that's pretty much the point of the lesson. So, Lord willing, I wasn't babbling on for too long. But Lord willing, it was edifying in some way, shape, or form, man. So with that, as always, again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Waha, Recha Kodash, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, and Shalom to the elect. Shalom.